Well, welcome to our August Community Partners Council Forum, where we are discussing the road to kindergarten, preparing for school success. We are joined by a panel of some really wonderful experts in our community. Some of them I have the privilege of collaborating with through the Journey to Five initiative, which, as Deb said, we'll talk about here in a bit. So I would like to introduce them to you, and then I will allow them to kind of go a little bit more in depth on who they are and what they do. But joining us this morning, we have Abby Tolka, who is an early intervention service coordinator with the Lincoln County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We have Paula Verdikoff. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Thank you. All right, good. She is the elementary curriculum director for New York City Schools. We have Teresa Blanchard, who is a APRN nurse practitioner with Licking Memorial Pediatrics. And we have Rebecca Beard, who is a early childhood education leader and program manager at Action for Children. So let's give them a big round of applause. Welcome this morning. So panelists, there is a microphone on the table in front of you, so we'll ask you to use that. It may need turned on. But if you would, please give us all a brief overview of the organization that you're with and the work that you do to support children and families in their journey to prepare for kindergarten.
Hi everyone, my name is Abby. I am an early intervention service coordinator through the Licking County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I have worked with the board in early intervention specifically since 2023. Prior to that, my background is in a combination of community corrections and child welfare. So I have kind of seen some different facets in reference to, the journey to kindergarten, working with children of that age group through Licking County. So yeah, my program specifically with early intervention, we work with our infants and toddlers, so birth to age 3 is my specific population of youth that I serve. Any kiddo who has any delay in their development, any sort of disability that obviously impacts their overall development, whether that's short-term or long-term. We try to link them with supports and just be, a positive piece in their puzzle.
All right, I'm Paula Verdikoff. I am the kindergarten through 5th grade curriculum director for New York City Schools, like Corey shared. My role is kind of a unique role. I do a lot of collaboration also with preschool, and thinking about coming today, we do a lot of work getting our students ready for kindergarten, whether it be collaborating with our preschool, getting their curriculum up and running for literacy or math or play-based. And then moving forward through kindergarten, we do have some different programs that we start. Actually, I'm going to talk about in a little bit for the summer for our kindergartners that are coming up. And I have been in education for over 25 years. I have done the Elder Belt Shuffle a little bit, where I've been in Dublin, in Canal Winchester, in Delaware, really done the shuffle. My roots were in kindergarten. I taught kindergarten for over 13 years. So if anyone were to ask me if you want to go back to the classroom, it would be kindergarten. So love it, and I have a passion for getting our students ready for what's coming next in education for them.
Hi, I'm Teresa Blanchard. I'm a nurse practitioner with Licking Memorial Pediatrics here in Newark. I've been there for almost 10 years now, and we see kids from birth to age 18 or graduation, whichever comes last. And we do developmental checks on all of our well checks from the first visit they come in. And one of my favorite things that we do is reach out and read, where every child ages 6 months to 5 years gets a free book from us at every well visit. And then we can kind of use that to show parents how they can use the tools that they have at home, going over colors and counting and animals and all those things. So yeah, I was excited to become a part of Journey to Five and figure out how we can better serve the community.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rebecca Beard. Once again, I am representing today Action for Children, which is our Central Ohio Resource and Referral Agency. We support the 7 counties that make up the Central Ohio region, including Licking County. And Active for Children's mission is just truly to support the adults who surround children. And so that is parents, caregivers, and teachers. And Action for Children is kind of on both sides of the kindergarten readiness spectrum as far as kind of what we do to support both families and what we do to support those childcare providers who are working with children every day within their homes or within their centers and programs. And so kind of on the family side, we do home visiting programs such as Spark and Help Me Grow. We do parent education classes. We do a resource and referral for families trying to find childcare and supports for their kiddos. And then on the childcare side or provider side, which is the side I work on as the program manager for professional education, we support providers in all things. So that may be providing business supports, establishing their program, but really focusing on improving quality and quality experiences in those child cares for the kiddos, specifically birth to 5.
All right, thank you so much, panelists. I am really excited to have this conversation today, and I think I'm looking forward to hearing all of your perspectives about the work that you do. There's a lot of collaboration that's happening around this in the community too. So hopefully it's going to be as exciting for you guys to hear about as it has been for us to participate in. Before we dive in with the questions, I want to draw your attention to the slips on the table. There will be some time at the end of our prepared questions for you to submit your own questions. There are slips on the table that say questions for the speaker. Feel free to write anything that you have on there. If you think of something during the discussion, or if there's something that wasn't touched on that you would like them to answer, you can write those down and we will collect those at the end of this question time, and you'll be able to have those addressed by the panel. So without further ado, panelists, how do we evaluate whether a child is ready for kindergarten? Are there certain assessments or evaluations that every child takes? And whoever would like to dive in.
I'll let maybe Paula or start off here.
All right, in the state of Ohio, a kindergartner must be 5 by the first day of school. In Licking County and Newark City Schools, that is on the 20th next week. If a student, their 5th birthday is on the 21st and beyond, they have to take early entrance, all the gifted testing, even if it's one day after the first day of school. Now, the students will be coming in for screening. If they do not do well, that means they're still coming. The only thing is that age. Some of the screening items that we are going to be rolling out this year are letter ID, letter sounds, first name writing to check that fine motor piece and seeing how they form those letters, number ID, counting, and identifying 1 to 20. We know most of them will be more like 1 to 10. We wanted to see because we talk a lot about intervention, but we also have that group of students that need that push for advancement. So we do have gifted students that come in kindergarten as well. So we go through all of our screening pieces. Of course, we have KRA, which is our state assessment. And we also have what we call Cadence, which is for all of our science of reading. So they come in, we do a lot of different assessments just to see where they are. And then we make some decisions of grouping students in classrooms. We also do, which we feel is more important right now, is we get a gauge of how they are with their self-help skills, with their social emotional development, and what they need when they come in. Can they separate from the parent? All those pieces we feel, and I've been meeting with our kindergarten teachers, are well above some of those academic skills, because we can do all the academic pieces, but if they can't come in and tie their shoes, well, a little bit tie their shoes, button, use the restroom by themselves independently, that is a harder thing to teach for those students, and those self-help skills are very important as we come in.
All right, thank you. Anybody have anything to add to that? All right, well, thank you so much. So what developmental markers, you touched on this a little bit, Paula, but what developmental markers are expected for a child entering kindergarten? And are there certain areas that are bigger issues overall in Licking County? I know you mentioned you're looking for some of the social emotional learning, some of those self-help behaviors. are there certain areas, and I'm not sure if you are able to speak to the county as a whole, but are there certain areas that we are seeing as larger issues overall?
I'll answer and then I'll probably pass to you. So self-help is our number one right now. Our babies are getting on tablets at an earlier age. I'm going to speak to all of our, all of our pieces with digital, the environment that they are in. We are seeing that our students are behind social. They cannot, there's a lot of things that when they come into us that they used to be able to do in the past when they would go outside and play in the neighborhood. They're not doing that anymore. So we are going through our checks to make sure that they have some of those pieces in place and put some of those lessons or some of that modeling in place for those students when they first come to us.
Yeah, I would agree that the social, emotional, and the self-help skills are the biggest thing. Even something as simple as, you know, a baby that's used to only eating like the pouches and not used to getting that spoon grasp, that then kind of leads into having some trouble with writing and so those types of things, obviously they have to be able to feed themselves at lunchtime, and open their lunchbox and open their containers and all those things. So I think that those are definitely the things that we see the most, and not just probably in Licking County, just in general.
Mhm.
Yeah, and even to just piggyback on Teresa, and I'm looking right here, what she has in front of her, that was, if you wanna kind of lift up that, you know, pamphlet with Journey to Five created these developmental milestone brochures that really talk about what children should be doing at what age and kind of what are some things that parents can do to support them. And so knowing what your child kind of should be able to do, or what children should be able to do in supporting them at home, there's so many developmental markers. Sometimes we think of kindergarten readiness, we think of, can they read or write? But it's, you know, like Paula said, those growing independent skills, language and communication. Those are some of those key things that, you know, like you're saying, kindergarten teachers are like, I wish they could be able to, you know, interact with their peers. Because we're gonna teach them what they need to know in kindergarten, but we need to see those foundational skills prior to entry. And those are the things that are just kind of lacking in our kiddos today.
While you've got the microphone, Rebecca, I just want to kind of go off script a little bit, because I know in your role, Action for Children is working with care providers across the spectrum. But thinking about those types of things that aren't necessarily, can you identify letters, can you identify colors, but those skill-based developmental markers, how can you or how do you support childcare providers, especially in-home childcare providers, to coach children through developing those skills?
So one of our big areas at Action for Children is providing training and technical assistance to family child care homes as well as center-based programs. And so what that looks like is hosting trainings where we're really talking about the curriculum and how do we make that curriculum actionable? Like, how can you implement this curriculum where it's really meeting the needs of students? Kind of diving into understanding developmental markers, because that is a big thing. We don't know how to support children to get to the next step if we don't know where they are. So understanding how to observe, how to assess, and then how to then support them. What do you put in place? What activities do you put in place to support them to get to that next level? And we also provide technical assistance that's on site in their childcare program, walking through what that looks like, how to set up your environment to make those high quality experiences for kiddos. And so that is something that is huge because oftentimes in childcare, a lot of our educators, our teachers are coming in because it is entry level work and they may not have the background or skills. And so we're really trying to encourage teachers to develop those skills through training, through certification. We do our child development associates that provides that basic foundational skills that talk about where children are, how they develop, and what they need to do to support them to get to the next level.
Great, thank you. I appreciate you providing some. I know I send you guys questions, but then I throw in things just, you know, That's how it goes. So, anybody else have anything to add to that one? No? Okay, that's fine. So in Licking County, if we have a ballpark, how many children or what percentage of children in general, are prepared for kindergarten when they enroll? Have we been seeing that number change much over the years, whether up or down?
So we're right around that 30% mark. So our largest analytic that's consistent across all counties across the state of Ohio is the KRA, Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. Now that assessment has changed over the years. There's a long version and a short version, and we have found that we need to fill in on the backside some of the pieces that are not assessed. For example, they ask the students a couple letters, but not all of them. Of course, a kindergarten teacher, might be myself in the past, would want to know which letters, uppercase, lowercase letter sounds that the students need. So students, when they come, and that assessment needs to be given in the first 20 days of school, which means we will start assessing them on day 1 on the 20th next week. And that is a one-on-one assessment with the teacher or a trained educator, because they have to go through special training. We're listed one-on-one with the child. And sometimes they give us everything they got and they're right there with you. Some of them are shy, some of them are more reserved, some are crying, some are on the floor, some are, and it is always a wild, great time. And so sometimes those results are not, as you can guess, accurate, and we get a better snapshot as we get to know the students better. That's why we do a variety of assessments. So across Licking County, KRA, the first 20 days is going to be given. That number actually has stayed consistent. I know a lot of people have said COVID, all, you know, the COVID babies, all of that. We have the belief that it is more the digital piece that has come into play with why our students are not where they need to be when they come in. We have students that are trying to swipe the books. I see a head shake over here. You hand them a book, you ask them, you know, front, back, cover, letter, all those things, and they're going like this, trying to swipe it. So in New York City schools, that is one of our large push this year, is getting books back in kids' hands. Somewhere along the way, we had adopted, we got claps in here. We have adopted a lot of digital curriculums. I get, oh my goodness, 4 a day right now of digital companies that are reaching out, wanting to partner with us, and we have said no. We are ready to get those books back in those kids' hands. And somewhere along the way, our teachers have forgotten how to do a small group reading group. So we, as a part of our professional development day next week, we are all revamping what our small groups look like with, more class, decodable books, grade level text, and also we have what's called geodes. So that we have seen it plateau. Like I shared, it hasn't changed as much, but we hope to get that percentage up as we get more books in kids' hands.
All right, thank you. Abby, did you have something? Oh, okay. I just didn't want to cut you off. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, Paula. And we're gonna, like I said, once we talk a little bit more about Journey to 5, but that is kind of our shared goal through this initiative, is to boost those KRA scores and other measures of a child's development in readiness for school. But I believe our goal, Deb, is at 51%, or just raised by 5%.
51% over 5 years.
Okay, 51% over 5 years. I knew there was a 5 and a 51. So that's the goal. We'll talk about how that's being done here in a second, but definitely something that we all are in partnership with here. So on that end, what work that you're aware of, maybe in your individual roles that you know, or if there are other initiatives that you're a part of, what work is being done throughout Licking County to improve our KRA scores, maybe boost ASQ participation, or otherwise better prepare our children for school?
So in our realm with early intervention, again, our population of children that we provide direct services for is 0 to 3. So in terms of kind of those those readiness skills, we are obviously assessing children's overall development. So every area, adaptive, those self-help, those self-care skills, dressing, feeding themselves, gross motor, able to walk, run, navigate uneven surfaces successfully. Those fine motor skills, again, manipulating fingers, when it's time for school, holding pencils, navigating, book bag zippers, coats, things like that. Those cognitive skills are obviously highly, highly important, not necessarily IQ, but just truly that engagement piece. Again, speaking to the digital society, not to sound negative, parenting, caregiving for children, it's hard. We have a very unprecedented time in the sense of what our world looks like. We have multi-generational families where, caregivers might not necessarily be parents. Caregivers might be foster care, might be grandparents, might be aunts, uncles. It could be a family friend. All of those different realms can be in a household together, and it's really kind of conquering and dividing and taking the village to make it work. But those cognitive skills can definitely really, really take a decline, and be impacted by that kind of digital world. Children sometimes are not always comfortable making eye contact. They might be hearing language, but language coming from a cartoon character, their mouth moving is no realm similar to an adult, making facial expressions, making that eye contact, sharing your space with another person. So those cognitive skills are obviously such a huge impact. The social emotional skills, how can a kiddo relate to, not only themselves, but their peers, their teacher, kind of that separation piece, drop offs, what does all of that look like? So those are definitely, with our realm of early intervention, we are able to support any one of those skills. We can be supporting them all together. It can be one skill. It can be something as simple as speech, just parents are concerned for speech and language development. It can be something far more significant, a child with, Down syndrome, with cerebral palsy, is really tailored to what individual children and caregivers need in order to achieve their version of success, independence, and setting them up to succeed in that long run scale of, preparing for kindergarten and the world of school to come.
I know I kind of touched base on this before as far as providing education to childcare providers in Licking County. We are partnered with Journey to Five to provide training to childcare providers in Licking County, free of charge at their program on site when it's convenient to them to truly try to help support and meet them where they are. We through Journey Five, they did a survey to childcare programs talking about areas of need. And the highest area of need was behavior and classroom management, because we know that we can't get to some of those skills when children's behavior seems out of control for the educator. And we know our teachers are getting burnt out because they can't support the children in their classroom environments. So we're offering training, and also in collaboration with Nationwide Children's Hospital, PACS, good behavior games, providing the support so teachers feel like they have the skills they need to address challenging behaviors, children with different needs, and then be able to provide that more high quality, more academic learning, because they're not dealing with behaviors on a regular basis. And so that's some of the work that we're doing that supports kindergarten readiness from Action for Children's side.
Sure, thank you.
And then Licking Memorial is rolling out a literacy screener called the Reading House that we'll start doing around the fall, where we will screen every 3 and 4-year-old that comes into the office on things such as letter recognition and sounds and rhyming, and kind of those things. And even as a parent, I think if it's your first kid and you just don't know what you don't know or what they need to know, or don't realize like, oh, my kid can't rhyme. I would say that I have 3 boys, and my 6-year-old struggles with the rhyming. Like, it just took forever for it to click. And then the littlest one is like no, that doesn't rhyme. Dog and frog run. But, so it's like things that you just don't think about as a parent. And, so we're excited to get that rolled out and then getting some little, packets together to send home with parents so that they might not have access to go buy, pencils or markers or crayons or books and things like that. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, we need to talk.
Okay.
So we have, gonna be a little confusing, it's called KRA during the summer, Kindergarten Readiness Academy. And where we invite any of our our students that are enrolled in kindergarten to a 3-week, 2.5-hour morning program, Monday through Thursday for the month of July. So those students come in our elementaries, they get settled in, they're working with our kindergarten teachers. And it's a lot of those prerequisite, cutting, coloring. We have a little STEM activity. Every moment of their time is prepping them for coming in and getting ready for the KRA. Another piece that we've done with our preschool is we have now tried to really bridge preschool into kindergarten with the teachers. So the kindergarten teachers have been in preschool classrooms. Preschool teachers have been in kindergarten classrooms. And they've had a chance to see, because it's not always the same. And sometimes in a preschool classroom, there are multiple teachers or assistants. Kindergarten teachers, sorry, they're on their own, unless there's an intervention specialist that comes in. So we wanted them to be in their world so they can tell and know what to expect when a student transitions up from preschool to kindergarten. So that was a lot of work that started last year. That is continuing this year. September 11th is our first checkpoint, where our preschool teachers will now go see kindergarten and what that looks like at the beginning of the year. Because we know it's all routine, what the expectations are, what those students are learning to be independent in kindergarten. So all that prep work feeding into kindergarten.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate the different perspectives, because one of the things for me when I started becoming more familiar with kindergarten readiness, but on a larger scale, just early childhood development, you don't realize how holistic the needs are. And again, I kind of fall into the camp of thinking, oh, ABCs, numbers, shapes, that kind of thing. But it involves their healthcare providers. It involves anyone who's within that child's realm of exposure. And so it's good to hear the different things that are happening in different areas and different places and understand that. I do want to clarify, so we've talked about the KRA, whether that's Kindergarten Readiness Assessment or Kindergarten Readiness Academy. But we mentioned briefly the ASQ, which is a different thing. Does anybody want to clarify quickly what that is?
ASQ stands for the Ages and Stages Questionnaire. That is typically it's provided to families to fill out. I think you could probably talk a little bit more about the ASQ. We do provide training to childcare programs to help administer the ASQ. So that's kind of on our side, but if you want to talk about more on the family side. Okay. There we go.
So full transparency, not to let anyone down, ASQs are not one that we administer. We are typically receiving ASQs as part of kind of our understanding of the child. So an ASQ could come to us with the referral of a kiddo. This might come from a pediatrician's office. This might come from a more specialized healthcare provider, Nationwide Children's, any of those kind of specialty providers. So we are kind of using that to get a better understanding of the child that is in front of us, their needs, some of those strengths, some of those shortcomings. Our screenings that we administer, we utilize one of our eligibility tools is the Battelle Developmental Inventory. So the BDI-3 is the current model that we will use to help us determine a child's eligibility. Again, that is looking in all areas of development. Our program is really unique and extremely positive in the sense that it is not income driven. We do not utilize any level of income, pay stubs, anything like that. We don't discriminate based on insurance. You could be a family that is receiving Medicaid, you can be a family that has private insurance. None of that matters to us. That eligibility is strictly determined by a child's pre-qualifying medical diagnosis or by demonstrating that they do have a significant delay on our developmental inventory. We can utilize other assessments. One that we have really started to utilize is called the health chart. I'm not sure if that means anything to anyone in this room. Again, some of our children that we are just more assessing to kind of get a better understanding of their current skills. Perhaps eligibility was previously determined. Once a child is eligible for early intervention, they are eligible until they turn 3. So some of our families kind of have stops, starts, pauses, and services. So anytime there is a little bit of that pause, we always want to assess a child. That way we can understand any changes in their development. Have they progressed in areas? Have they maybe regressed in areas? So we're doing those assessments, and one that we found that our families really like is that health chart. It gives a visual of their skills in comparison to same, which I think a lot of caregivers really like. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and kiddos just don't come with a manual. I think a lot of caregivers have very, basic levels of development, but just, certain things, that's where the professionals can really come in and help pinpoint. And sometimes we have really, really good conversation based upon things that you're just like, wow, I never thought about, or that wasn't on my radar. So the ASQ is not one that we personally administer, but we definitely use it quite often and see that in reference to our services and supporting families.
All right, thank you. So anybody within nonprofit, social service, public sector, any kind of realm like that, we're all thinking about funding normally all the time. But especially the last few years, it's been something that we've had to really think about. So how might or how could funding cuts or changes in funding structures impact a child's kindergarten readiness and overall development, such as potential cuts to SNAP or other benefits, potential cuts to Head Start, changes in other funding sources. I'm also thinking changes in property tax, any of that kind of thing. Is there a risk for that, or have we been seeing that impacting this work already?
I'm sure everyone will want to share the love on this one, but I can definitely start. So, I mean, yes, absolutely. The funding issue is, again, not to sound, negative or gloom and doom and scary, but it is just such a real factor in so many of our programs that really support and benefit children and their families. Again, early intervention, us specifically, we are a grant-funded program through the state of Ohio. We are affiliated with the Licking County Board of Developmental Disabilities. All of these programs rely on, taxpayer dollars, grants, funding avenues that, unfortunately look different from, cycle to cycle, period to period. These cuts they're scary. If a family does not know how to provide their basic needs from one day to another, there is essentially no room for anything extra. If you don't know where you're going to get dinner for your kiddo, for your multiple children, for your aging parent that you are caring for, if the day-to-day capacity are at the forefront of your brain, your heart, and your soul, there is just no room for all of these beautiful things that we're talking about today. I love to say, like, go take your kiddo to the park, go run with them. I think everybody that has a child in their life has that same goal, right? But how do I take my kiddo to the park and go have fun when I'm trying to juggle multiple jobs? My benefits that I rely on and depend upon daily are being cut. I might not have, health insurance. It is such an overfilling fountain where it all just trickles down. And again, if our basic needs are not being not only met, but just ensured from a consistency level, all of these beautiful things are extra that there's likely just not a capacity for. and the stress and the burden that that places on our caregivers and ultimately our children is huge.
Ditto, yes. So we rely heavily on property income tax, and I know that is one of those things that is being looked at right now. That is every funding stream that we get money from. Our title funding this year will only cover our teacher's salary that are our title reading teachers. We don't have additional funds for other things. It keeps getting cut year after year. That's one of our major funding sources. You're right. We will not be able to do extra things over the summer. We will not be able to adopt curriculums that we can put additional items in those classrooms for those teachers to use with students. Intervention, I worry, is going to be one of those areas. On top of that, even more is gifted. Our students that are gifted that need the advanced push that usually are your behaviors, which you talked about, they're usually our brightest because they're sitting there and they want to go fast. And the teacher has to take a little extra time to help them. They won't have some of those resources that they need. Because there will have to be a priority, and I'm speaking of curriculum, there will have to be a priority of what are our necessities that we have to, and we won't have these extra pieces that really will impact student learning and readiness.
I will try to stay off of my soapbox. One, but, I'm gonna talk about it from two different standpoints. One being a number standpoint, because I do like statistics. So I did pull the KRA scores and it will divide it, for kids who are economically disadvantaged and kids who are not. So for the 2024-2025 KRA scores, they saw that 55.7% of students who are not at an economic disadvantage scored demonstrating readiness. Then you flip that over to the kids who are economically disadvantaged, 25% of those kids scored demonstrating readiness. So over 55%, 25%. So I think that number right there speaks volumes and says it is a huge factor. And then coming from an anecdotal standpoint, we can't expect kids who are hungry to learn. I talk to our teenagers all the time about how important eating is. Your body, whatever you put into your body is the fuel for your body. And if a kid doesn't have access to food, we can't expect them to retain anything. They're in that survival mode. We keep snacks in our office because if a kid comes in and they're hangry, we're not gonna get anywhere. So I'll go grab you a bag of cold fish or chips. And it changes the mood completely. And I can't imagine, and that's, for a short period of time in the office, I can't imagine a kid coming to school. And maybe they can't even get to school to get the breakfast or the lunch. Or on the weekend, they have limited food all weekend, they come in on Monday and they're not ready to learn.
So if we go back to COVID times, we learned very quickly how important childcare is to stabilizing our economy. And unfortunately, our childcare programs have yet to truly recover from that and have been placed in pretty precarious situations. We put out at Active for Children our Central Ohio Child Care Provider Survey, where I'm going to do a shameless plug that it is currently open. And it's an opportunity for us to hear our child care providers in our Central Ohio region, what is going on with them, what are those issues and those challenges that they're facing on an everyday scenario. And so our 25 report is on our website, and soon we'll be publishing our 2026 report. And I just want to dive into that a little bit because it kind of is a start when we talk about funding cuts. And we know that there has been changes to publicly funded childcare reimbursements, specifically for our FCC providers, so they're not getting their hours have changed, so how they can, the reimbursement they can get for children based off of the hours that they're in their care has changed, which has significantly affected the reimbursements that they're able to receive. And so we have childcare providers not able to stay afloat. We received a number of 58% of programs said that they were unsure in the next 12 months if they can stay afloat. And that's 38% of programs here in Licking County said in the next 12 months, they don't know if they can run their business and their program that supports these children. And if a family does not have childcare, a safe place that they can send their kid while they try to work or go to school, what are we going to do? We're going to end up having more and more childcare deserts where we have no place for safe care for kiddos. The Department of Children and Youth said in 2024, 2025, in the state of Ohio, over 383 children were served in a licensed childcare program. That's all program types. 383 kiddos, that's a lot of kiddos. And if these programs are saying, we don't know in the next 12 months if we're going to be able to serve these children and these families, where are those kids going to go? And that's a huge issue when we talk about stability in our economy and what we're seeing when it comes to funding cuts. We also know that programs are also saying that they're going to have to raise tuition for families, and families can't afford it. They're paying more for childcare than they are for housing. They're deciding, like, can I literally send my child to a safe place I can work, or are we going to have a roof over our heads? Like, this is the reality that our families are facing, and it's not only impacting the families, but it's impacting the childcare programs. They're not able to pay their staff living wages. They want to increase their wages, but they can't afford to do so. And so now we also have people who are working a job, but they are not getting a living wage. And so it just creates this cycle of instability. And we know that a stable family is a stable community. A healthy family is a healthy community, and childcare is truly at the center of it. And the changes and the cuts that we see to childcare subsidies it's huge, and it's making a huge impact, and it's a ripple effect. It's not just affecting the family, but it's affecting our economy.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, to echo what you said, I was recently at a luncheon, and this was not a necessarily social service type thing. It was more business, economic development. And we heard from the president of the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, who I have never wanted to like stand up and just applaud more because he was talking about these basic needs. And he said, in Ohio right now, the average cost of childcare is 102% of the cost of housing. To think that the cost of childcare, which we've been talking about for years, has now surpassed on average the cost of housing is a real issue. And bringing up childcare wages, recently the updated ALICE report, if you're familiar with ALICE, asset limited, income constrained, and employed is a measure that United Way puts out to measure financial stability. And the updated report was released in June for a single person living in Licking County. I think the basic survival budget pay that person needs is 16 something an hour now. And a couple of years ago, Grow Licking County did their childcare study and found the average childcare worker was making 11 something an hour. So if you're making right around 75% or so of what it takes just to make ends meet, you're gonna have a really hard time attracting people to those jobs. And then also for the parents to be charged more than what they pay to live in their house, it creates some issues, and that's not really encouraging children to participate, or the availability of parents to work or something like that, which all ripples down to impact a child's development, their readiness for school, their future success, and their life beyond. So all of these things are connected. They're all part of one system, the web. So I appreciate you bringing attention to that stuff and the ways that funding, which seems disconnected from child development, is actually quite connected. So over the last couple of years, we've mentioned this a few times, there's an initiative to specifically address kindergarten readiness in Licking County was launched called Journey to 5. lovely table right over there. Deb and Sylvia are sitting over there. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what Journey to Five is. I know we've talked about it, but so for those of you who are active, what is Journey to Five, and how have you seen this initiative make progress toward improving kindergarten readiness in Licking County?
So Journey to Five is a countywide initiative with, I think, 35 different organizations that participate. And we come together once a month and talk about things that we can do in the community to improve kindergarten readiness. We made the lovely brochures over there that you can see. There's a website. And one of our big things is finding the kids that we don't, no one's seeing them. They're not coming to well checks, they're not going to daycare, they're not going to preschool. Where can we find these kids? And so this, probably the past year or so, once we had the pamphlets made and everything, it's been getting out into the community to meet people where they are, fairs and all the different places. So that has been a big thing, and I think it's just really encouraging to go to those meetings and see so many different people from so many different organizations with the same goal in mind.
Yeah, and I want to just add to there, the word collaborative and collaboration, and truly kind of highlighting the fact that there's so many entities and stakeholders coming from different sides of the coin or the sphere, if you want to say, to really kind of dive into this conversation on how do we help kiddos be successful. And I think that's progress in itself, that it's not one entity, it's all these organizations to really taking the time and say, what can I do? What is my role in supporting children and in their role, in our role to help them be successful and to move the needle? And I think that is just changing the way that we're looking at things and trying to kind of like, where's the problem? How can we address it? And how can we attack it from multiple angles? I think that has been so cool to see, just kind of like that, really that unification of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we mentioned there, over there, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, check out the table. There are the pamphlets for different age levels of a child, starting at age 0, day 1, all the way through 5, that talks about what types of markers could a child be displaying at this age, what activities can parents or caregivers do to reinforce those skills or those developmental markers. There are additional links to resources, QR code to the Sparkler app. So I really encourage you to check those out. Rebecca mentioned also the website, Journey to 5, journeyto5.org, number 5. There are those resources on there, just links to great information. And then also, I think earlier Rebecca had mentioned the trainings that Action to 5 is doing. So another intervention that Journey to 5 has rolled out are these trainings available to early child care providers. I think we've done a couple this year and have maybe 6 more that are scheduled. And those have been going great. I think there's a lot of benefit there to help those educators pick up additional skills that might be beneficial to them, or tools that they can use to aid those kids in their development. I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but do you guys want to say anything about Journey to 5 or maybe after? No pressure.
So the other intervention that we're just starting to roll out on, and Paula, I want to pick your brain on this too. So we're working with the 10, we're working with the 10 school districts in Licking County to see how we can reach kids earlier. And so what we want to do is also reach out to preschools in the area that feed into the kindergarten programs in the school districts, so that we can do exactly what you said, Paula, is to align goals and have each other each program know what the other program is doing and how they're interacting with the kids, and then how we can, help those kids be ready to be successful in kindergarten. So that's just starting, so next year or whenever, stay tuned. We hopefully will have some good progress on that.
Thanks, Corey. Thank you. Give this back to you. All right, thank you. So please make sure you stop by the Journey to Five table, check out those brochures, chat with Deb and Sylvia, get to know them. Yeah, and a lot of us in this room are Journey to Five partners, so we are familiar, but if you're not, really any of us, I think, would be happy to share about our experience, point you in the direction of resources, and talk about how this collaborative is serving the county, how you can participate or how you can help us with this goal. So thank you. Paula, you have talked a little bit about what from Newark City Schools, what you do with the Kindergarten Readiness Academy. But is there anything in addition to that that is part of the role that school districts play to prepare future students for kindergarten?
So a lot of our districts do have a preschool as well. Our preschool has mostly students with special needs that have heavy interventions in addition to their peers. So we work closely with them. Like I shared, we do connect preschool to kindergarten teachers. We also have family nights this past spring, and I know most school districts do this, where you have a kindergarten information night in the spring before they come the following year, where you highlight to families, what is it like to go to kindergarten? Sometimes bringing them into the fold of, this is what a full kindergarten day looks like. There's not nap time. There isn't, lulls of time. I remember I used to have crackers and a little chili willy. That does not happen anymore. The day is packed full of different things. Sometimes educating the parent of what it's like gets their mindset ready. Am I ready to send them? And what can I do over the summer to help prepare them for what's to come? We do know coming in that we have to go through all those routines, and we have to go through all those procedures of how to stand in line, how to get a drink of water, how to fill your water bottle. We do a lot of model. We'll do it together. I'll show you. Now you get to do it. I'll watch you, give you a little feedback. And now you're going to do it on your own. The kicker is, once they can do it on their own, let them do it on their own. That's where we get into the cycle of doing it for them just because it's quicker. And that's where we're seeing in schools where these students, we know that they could do them, but a parent or an older sibling will intervene, and then all of a sudden they're not independent anymore. So we are trying to get into the parents' world pretty quick in the spring once we know those students are coming in, and it's open to everyone. And another piece is, like I shared during the summer, we have a lot of different meetings. We have a lot of different, our KRA, Kindergarten Readiness Academy, that come into play for those students. I think being in their world with their families, being in a world with the teachers and knowing those expectations, and then again, working with those students on those social, emotional skills to get them ready is key for when they come to kindergarten. Some of them will be riding the bus. So buses, there's a little bus tour of how to get on the bus, how to sit on the bus, how to not crawl under the seats, all those things that to a parent can be very scary, to a child seem like a playground.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is building those procedures, following directions, being an active listener, all those things that we all have learned over the years, and prepping them and getting them ready for that.
Okay. I think that you brought up a good point too about how things have changed. You know, if I think back to when I was starting kindergarten 33, 34 years ago, first of all, I didn't go every day. I went some weeks 2 days a week, some weeks 3 days a week, Monday, Thursday, every other Wednesday. Still remember my group. We were the color red. And, you know, things were completely different back then. And obviously the world has changed a lot, but for parents, you know, I think you expect what your experience was. And So it can be really difficult then to have a full grasp on what the day looks like, what the expectations are, how the child needs to be prepared. And so I know we've talked a lot about throughout this conversation about things that can contribute to a child's development, things to look for, skills, interventions, all of that. But specifically from your perspective, what is the most effective way that parents specifically can help to support their child in their readiness for kindergarten?
So in terms of our services, I mean, that's again, kind of a shameless plug to, what I do directly with our early intervention services. The earlier, the better. And if you ever have any sort of pause or doubt or wonder, I encourage anybody that's involved with the child to explore that. No one knows the child better than who is caring for them, who is in their circle, who is seeing them every day. And if you have wonder, reach out. That's exactly what so many of these community partners are here for. Again, with early intervention, it's not income based. It is truly on need of the child. So, we will do those assessments, those screenings. We will let you know from that pool of professionals that are certified in all of these areas. Yes, your child has a delay. No, your child does not have a delay. Or if they're somewhere kind of in the middle, like, hey, here's some things to kind of put on your radar to have on your flag. And we will give you those tools, give you those resources, because again, you only know what you know. But I just encourage everyone to really kind of trust that gut and listen to that little voice. And don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel. Sometimes it does take trial and error. It might take, seeking different providers. It might take second opinions. It might take different community programs. We are fortunate that there are so many programs that kind of have their own niche. Sometimes there's overlap. Sometimes, you might be working with one or multiple programs, but I do fully believe that there is something out there for everyone. So just because you maybe did get the answer that you want or expected, explore that further, I think is something really, really good. Just remember you are your child's expert, and don't take that lightly, because no one knows them like you.
I would say my best professional teacher hat, parent hat is to teach your child how to function within a group, how to interact, how to take turns, how to wait your turn, and how to handle disappointment. And that's exactly how you're reading my mind, and how to handle the word no. Because they're going to hear it. And if they hear the word no from a parent and they throw their body on the ground, guess what's going to happen when they come to school? So practice now. Even if it was a yes, and I used to tell this to my children, and I have 2 boys, even if it was a yes before, we're going to practice the word no. It's okay. Let's practice that. Maybe in the past it was a yes, but today it's a no. What are you going to do with that? And talk through those feelings. Talk through, oh, are you feeling this way? Here are the things that you can do when you feel this way. Sometimes when a student knows they're going to lose at a game, because it's Candyland, and I always lose at Candyland, so there has to be one winner. You might not be that winner. What are you going to do when you do not win at that game? Setting them up and practicing that at home is the best advice I can give to parents when they're preparing their child for kindergarten.
Mine's going to be a little bit more cliche. It's not going to be a mic drop moment, but it's simply being present, playing, talking to your children, being curious. Those are the things that we need parents to do. Sometimes when we, have these conversations about kindergarten readiness, we give them the checklist. We give them these things that they feel like, oh my goodness, it feels overwhelming. And we want children and parents to engage with each other. That's not happening, because we talked about springtime and how that interaction is dwindling. Those playful interactions with caregivers and adults that are with them every day. And so I think we cannot over encourage parents to go back to playing with their children, talking with their children, making those everyday experiences, making sure they know those are learning experiences. If you're counting the stairs as you're going up for bed, that's a learning experience. If you're helping them sort the laundry by color, we're putting the whites over here, we're putting the towels over here, that's a learning experience. And going back to doing that and making sure they know that those intentional moments are helping their children get ready. Another plug, we have a resource guide called The Roadmap to Kindergarten Readiness on our website, and it gives parents 7 simple tips, including reading with your child. When you go into the grocery store and helping them look over the list and pick out 7 apples or whatever we need. And so those are the things that we don't want the home to be kindergarten. They're going to do kindergarten in kindergarten. We don't need them to do kindergarten in the home. We need present parents. And I think that goes to advocacy. That goes to, just knowing what my child needs and being able to be present and show up for them.
Yeah, a lot of what they said, reading and talking to them, that's a huge thing. I tell parents, narrate everything you're doing. You're gonna feel crazy at first. But the more that they're hearing you talk, the better it is for them in their language development, playing with them. My kid's favorite game is Uno, and I literally have Uno in my purse right now because we play it everywhere we go. And promoting that independence. And a big thing I tell parents is modeling for them. And I love to use personal examples with patients because I'm like, I'm just human too. And so this past weekend, we're camping with my husband's whole family, and the kids were like, it's outside time, we're not doing screens, blah, 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 blah. And then my 6-year-old goes, well, why are 4 of the 6 adults on their phones right now?
Yeah.
Granted, we were planning our next day activities, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're very right.
Yeah.
All of these adults are on their phones right now. And so it's like, how can we expect a kid to do that? And so like, I was like, no phones at dinner. If a kid's not allowed to have their tablet at dinner, obviously, why would I allow my husband to have his phone at dinner? So it's like, we have to model what we expect from them. And it might, be inconvenient for a parent at a time, but it's important.
Mhm. Thank you for all of those suggestions.
If I can, I have one more.
Of course,
This
yeah.
is gonna sound really silly. Please make sure your kiddo knows their name.
Yes. Yeah.
I have, my children are bean and potato. Their kindergarten teacher is not gonna call them potato, right? So please make sure they know their name, they respond to that. That sounds so silly, but I definitely think that's something that's important too.
Yeah, that is a great point and reminds me, even if the child's not used to being called potato, they might be used to being called something that is a name, but maybe is not their full name. And, I think even with my cousins, so how often, we shorten names, Chris is Christopher, whatever, Katie might be Catherine, and for them to know, like, oh, that's my full name, it might be hard to spell, but depending on the name. But that's a really good point that, people don't think of.
Something we get a lot.
Yeah.
We're sitting down and we're having these meetings, preparing for preschool and, again, my girls are bean and potato and we love that, but, they're not gonna be called that by teachers or, the people that are seeing them. So it's just that setting them up for success, that exposure outside of the home.
Great, thank you. Well, before we move on to our last question, those of you who have questions for them, if you would take a minute to just kind of hold those up. If you are finishing writing those, please continue. But if you have some questions for our panelists, please hold those up. We will come around and collect those so that we can present those to the panelists. Finally, I don't know, we might have exhausted all of the suggestions. We talked through a lot this morning. But if there's one thing that you would like everybody here to know, or if you could somehow send a message to everybody in Lincoln County, what is it that you would want them all to know? If there's anything, it's fair to say I've talked about all of it already.
I guess my piece is that, you know, it just summarizing everything and just thinking of our climate, you're not alone. I think that this world unfortunately has gotten, you know, to a very, we have blinders on where we're in survival mode. You know, what exists in the four walls of our home is what exists to us, and all of that carries weight and merit. But I think kind of just really taking that step to take a deep breath, to sit down and unclench the jaw, you know, it just truly know that you're not alone. We are very, very fortunate in this county that there are so many things. Just ask questions, you know, dig on the internet, ask a friend, ask that person that you respect, admire. Ask questions, you know, your help is out there. And if you don't know where to find it, I'm sure, you know, somebody can hopefully point you in the directions.
If I were to tell a parent one thing, I'm gonna go through the parent lens, it's okay to be bored. It's okay. That's usually when creativity kicks in, cleverness, where you come up with the children come up with the best ideas. And at school, there are times when they're going to be bored, and that's when they do their best thinking. It's okay. That's when those brain waves come down and they're able to have that clear thinking. So it's okay to be bored. Don't hand them the phone. Hand them the tablet. It's okay. They will find something to do. If you hear there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do, they can find something to do. If they say school is boring, that means that they are now coming down the baseline. They're comfortable. They're able to do their best thinking. They're able to work in a group, and they can bring that creativity forward. It doesn't have to be stimulation all the time. So bored is okay.
I like to tell parents that getting kids ready for school doesn't have to be hard or expensive. Use what you have at home. I love my colorful tops because in the office I'll say, okay, what color is Hulk? Okay, what color is Iron Man? And it kind of shows parents you can use what you have at home. You don't have to go out and buy all the, you know, the Montessori toys and the expensive wooden toys. Use what you have. You have plenty of colorful stuff at home or outside. So it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be expensive.
I think what I want to say, kind of more to the community is that kindergarten readiness is a community responsibility. Children cannot prepare themselves for kindergarten. They literally can't. It takes all of us. We need community investment, and that is from our government entities to our local businesses to our childcare programs, our school districts. It takes all of us. It takes the nonprofit, it takes the church organizations to help surround kiddos and support them to get them to where they need to be. And so if I can just like, all of us in here have a role, all of us out there, we have a responsibility to make children successful.
All right, thank you. Well, let's move on to some questions. Also, if you are still writing questions or if you have those questions, we can go ahead and collect those. But someone asked, Paula, this might be more for you. Someone was just wondering, how is the Woodside project? So I assume the Wildcat Pantry, is that what it's called? The
Yes.
pantry at the Woodside. How's that going, with the food and the services there?
Yes, so we had the ribbon cutting for the Woodside Pantry last spring. That is for families to come in and get different items. It was fully stocked in the spring, and then will continue throughout the year. And then we also have a partnership for a medical piece where students and families can use it. It's almost like a little clinic in that same area. That ribbon cutting was this past week. So a lot of different things that are available for families, that are available for students. We are going to offer busing. So if a student needs something during the school day, we will have them bussed over and then back to school so they can get the things that they need.
Great, good to hear. We are always excited to hear about additional resources and opportunities for families. That's something that is important for us and we advocate for as well. So we're really happy to hear that that is going well. Also, a concern, not necessarily a question, but just kind of echoing an earlier conversation about the impact of the digital world that we live in and the impact that phones, tablets, other devices can have on a child, on all of us, really, not just children. You brought up a good point, Tressa, about, we might tell kids, oh, it's screen-free, but how many of us are dependent on our device? I mean, truly dependent on our devices. So I know you talked a little bit about the books, kind of making an effort to bring back group reading time, physical books. Are there other things that are being done to kind of instill some real world skills outside of digital skills, or undo maybe some of that?
Absolutely. So we have gone through all of our digital curriculum components. We have vetted all the ones that were purchased before my time, because this is actually going into my second year as curriculum director. So we have vetted through all those, and we have now dropped a lot of them. So what did we have? What do we really need? So that really limited to us to our core instruction, which is mostly the teacher side of things. They need to get on the platform, print some things, that type of thing. Books in kids' hands. Science is going to be a huge push, and social studies, field trips, really doing experiments. We've met with our, on the little bit older end of elementary, our 5th grade team had planning where they are designing different labs for students. Our kindergarten is going to really focus on coming up, what are the things that I need? If you know anything about the state of Ohio and science standards, they are very minimal. So our teachers are really working at what can we do to help improve and become little explorers and wonder about the world. Again, going out, all those hands-on pieces, trying to get more manipulatives in their hands, especially not only for science, but for math. We did adopt a new curriculum, Envision Map, and it is heavy manipulative, and there are a lot of application pieces. So really getting back to that hands-on and what represents a number. So really looking through those things. Did I answer your question?
I think so, yeah. Rebecca, did you have something to add?
Yes, we're actually doing, this Friday, a screen time lunch and learn for providers that talks about the, screen time and kind of those kind of myths around it. And also like, kind of what are those expectations when we are kind of like Paul was saying, like kind of take a evaluation of the opportunities we have with digital experiences, how are they meaningful, and how are we using them to encourage learning in a more intentional way. And so we're doing a screen time lunch and learn this Friday with providers, because we don't want them to necessarily shy away from technology. We are in a digital age and our kiddos are swiping, for books, because this is what they're growing up with. And technology that we have today, was created in our lifetime. And so we know that our children are going to be inventing technology that is not even, thought about. So we're trying to be intentional about how we share that message with childcare providers and make sure that they're intentional with what they're using. So just a little plug there.
Great, thank you. So again, that's Friday. Is it only for providers or?
It's online, so no, it's not. You can join the Eventbrite if you would like to learn a little bit about that as well.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Another question. So with restrictions on time during the day and the school year due to the curriculum and schedules, how are teachers being supported to add group reading time back into their days? Maybe add some more time for play, non-curriculum books, things that are still important components, but are maybe not as rigid.
I guess this is me.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So our literacy curriculum is called Wit and Wisdom. A lot of districts around the state of Ohio have adopted that. There are a whole slew of them. And we did have that at 90 minutes a day. And if you know kindergarten, I'll do, that's a long time. So we have scaled back our minutes within the literacy block of a lot of the teacher time, the students receiving, and now we're switching to more the students doing. So we have now decreased some of that time in order to make room for our small group instruction. Most districts across Ohio also have an intervention or advancement time. We call it win time, what I need time. And that is 30 minutes for literacy blocked in every K-5 classroom and math as well. So those are dedicated time where students are grouped based on what they need, win time, what I need. And that's another time where teachers will pull groups of students, work through a book, work through a group, and those are flexible groups based on our assessments that we see in the classroom or large-scale district or state assessments. And then we regroup the students based on what they need. So 2 times during the day, a little bit scaling back our core instruction time for those small groups, and then again during the what I need time.
All right, thank you. One last point to bring up, a little bit of a question, which would be for me, but well, I guess Paul is the only school representative here again, but so I won't make you pull it in. So, a question about what is the hygiene hub? It does kind of piggyback off the Woodside Pantry. So if you're not familiar, there is information over there. Hygiene hubs are a program of United Way of Licking County, which we are happy to say we're in all public high schools in Licking County. We are quickly moving through all of the middle schools in Licking County, and we may or may not expand to some elementary schools, just depending on need. Usually that expansion is dictated by the needs within those schools. However, this program does certainly benefit children of all ages and families of all ages. So we find that a common barrier that contributes to truancy. It's another one of those basic needs where if you don't have available hygiene products, clean clothes, ability to take a shower, other personal hygiene, that can really impact a child making it to school, a child's ability to stay present at school, a child's behavior can be impacted by that, so many things. And so we wanted to do what we could to help contribute to that. So we launched the Hygiene Hub program in 2024, and they are cabinets that are typically in like a counselor's office, maybe the school nurse station, wherever is convenient for that school. But they are free for students to access. They do not need permission, as far as I know, in any of the schools. It's free access for the students. And they're stocked with hygiene supplies, personal care products, sometimes laundry detergent, some of those items that may or may not be readily available in more of a food pantry setting. And the nice thing is that students can take those things for themselves, of course, but we have many students who maybe they have siblings in the home, or, they have laundry detergent or things like that that they need at home. So certainly this is something that's going to impact children of all ages, but one of those things. So it's good to know, I guess, for all of you, if you are aware of kids, no matter what age they are, if there are school age children as well in that home that might be in middle school or high school, that this is something that they can take advantage of. There are also instances where someone can reach out to us directly and we might be able to facilitate getting some supplies to them as well. We do have a hygiene hub in our office, and we're working on some ways. Sometimes we put some outreach kits with different programs or on transit buses or things like that. So it is a program that's available. It is something that you can make sure that families are aware of, so that if they do have older kids that are in those schools, they're welcome to utilize those products for anyone in that household. So something else to be aware of, as we think kind of again, holistically about childhood well-being, childhood development, that's certainly something that plays a role. And kind of coming back to that, food pantries are a thing that we're really seeing in a lot of the school districts as well. So if you're aware of those in whether it's in the school district that you live in, district where your kids or someone in your family goes to, I would recommend reaching out and finding out what they need and supporting that as well, because those are a huge benefit to the schools. Ashley?
And we can plug, we're gonna fill the bus
Yes.
to support the hygiene hub at
Yes.
the week of care and kickoff.
Yes, so week of care and kickoff, September 11th. I think it's at 11:30. It's over there on the sign.
Yes.
At the Canal Market, it is our annual week of care and kickoff. We will have a school bus there that will be taking supplies to go toward the hygiene hub. So we are always in need of things like deodorant, especially. Deodorant is a big one. We can't keep enough deodorant on hand to supply everybody. Feminine hygiene products, shampoo, toothpaste, a lot of that kind of stuff, is what really we go through that a lot. But any type of personal care products, hygiene supplies, that kind of thing. We do sometimes keep some cleaning supplies, maybe more limited to laundry supplies. But as things are available, we can also keep stuff in stock at our office, if someone needs that. So please bring your donations to that kickoff. Of course, we want to see you at the Week of Parent kickoff as well. It's fun. We usually always have Lee's Chicken, so there's a good reason to come. If not to see us and spend time with us. So yeah, please come, stop the bus, join us at the Week of Caring. Do we have any last questions, comments, ideas, concerns? Sylvia?
Just wanted to say, I hope you come up and take a look at it and even take some of these trifold. But if you're working with parents who have young children, if you come across them, you can order a supply of these by going online to the Journey to Five website. And there's a place where they have the trifolds and you can order these materials.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. So for those of you and those who are watching the recording, Sylvia brought up the point that they have the trifolds over there for the child development, but you can order those online on the website, journey5.org. There is a button you can click to get those. I think you can also see them online. The digital versions are on there as well. So there are links to those, as well as a lot of other resources. Recommend going to that website, journey5.org.
To add to what Sylvia just said, yes, if you know parents or caregivers, but if you're in an area that your child goes to a preschool, or a preschool or a church or a community organization, if you think they could benefit from having some of these resources, feel free to share the name and they can order them, or if you want to order them for that organization, you can do that too.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. So please refer people to the website. Also, if you are a service provider of any kind and you're engaging with people who might be parents of young children, maybe you're serving children, please think about trying to work in those brochures as either something that people automatically get or that is readily available to them, because we have really seen, they've been very successful. We can't take complete credit for it, but we would definitely say there's a correlation. We were talking about the ASQ earlier. We did see a really large spike in ASQ participation, really around the time that we rolled out those brochures. So they are making an impact. We are seeing them out there. And even for myself, I don't have kids, but I have a young niece. And I was like, these are some great things for me to, maybe be more aware of how I'm interacting with her and more intentional about, I'm not just doing whatever, or, most of the time it's always entertaining, no matter how we're playing, but if I can think about that more, it's really been helping me too.
So collecting stories, so I want that story. Positive input. And if any of you do use the trifolds or giving them to others and you do have a positive experience with them, please let me know. You can put that through a comment on Journey to Five website. And hopefully this doesn't happen, but if you have negative comments, let me know too, so we know what's going on. But thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Taking comments, journey5.org, connect with Deb either way, so. All right, well, thank you all so much for your time. Again, I want to remind you, these forums take place on the second Wednesday of every month, with the exception of November, which we mentioned earlier. So the next one, we are going to be talking about supporting the arts in Licking County, and not just the arts, but why should we support the arts? The ways that they support the, again, development of youth, the way that the arts overlap with social services, the way that they support other important needs of folks in the community. So that's going to be a really interesting discussion that is coming up on September. The date's right here in front of me, September 9th. Again, supporting the arts. In October, some of you are going to be very familiar with the Community Health Improvement Plan. Some of you might not be aware of it, but we will be talking about what is the Community Health Improvement Plan on October 14th. And then again, just a reminder, November's forum was scheduled for the 11th. For us in United Way, that is a floating holiday, so we can take it off, but we also are in the office quite frequently. But for most people, as we've learned, they're just not in the office. So we're not going to make anybody come in on a day that they're off. Our future, our panelists that we're working with, but they are also off. And so we don't want to do that to anybody. So we are making that one on the 4th. We will again have more information coming out via email and on our social media to make sure you know the location, the time, when, all of that. So make sure that you have our flyers over there with our topics and our dates. There's other information over there about United Way programs, as well as the Journey to Five stuff. So we hope to see you next month, and thanks for coming.